Alright, I'm gonna try and keep this intro short because that's something I failed to do over the past while. So, three quick things I want to mention off the bat. A, thank you all for the support over the past couple of months. I couldn't appreciate it more. Um, a lot of very, very interesting stuff. I've really liked how the channel's been going over the past couple of months, ever since I booted it back up. And it's all thanks to you guys. So, thank you very much for the support you've been giving me. Number two, I plan to do a live stream this Friday night, for Game 4 of the NHL Finals, Dallas-Tampa. We'll see what happens in Game 3. Game 4, I want to talk a little bit about the series, and then we're going to react to the game, just like I did for Vegas-Vancouver, Game 5. And number 3, I just kind of want to give a quick timeline of off-season videos. This year, kind of lay out what I'm planning to do over that 1 week. I have online school during that whole week, so I have to be very creative with how I use my time. But I've kind of came up with a tentative plan that could change, but I think that this is the plan I'm going to have in place. Monday night, you guys are going to see my reaction to the Oilers' first-round draft pick. What I'm going to do, I'm obviously going to be watching the draft. Once pick 13 is done by the Carolina Hurricanes, I'm going to turn on the camera, and I will just film my reaction for the next few minutes or so, film a bit of the after reaction I have, and we were going to be uploading that as my little reaction to their first round pick. Tuesday, we are going to be talking about everything the Oilers did at the draft, any trades that happened, and any major picks. Either people will obviously talk about some of the top picks, and we'll talk about if there was anybody who fell or rose or surprise top 5 picks. Looking right at you, Detroit. I'm looking directly at you. And on Wednesday, or Thursday, most likely Thursday, I plan to do a video quickly, kind of just talking about any other moves that have happened, if there are moves that have happened. If nothing really significant happens, I'm going to save it for my mass video on the Friday. On Friday, I plan to do on the Friday, October 9th, after free agency ends, so around 3 o'clock, right after my schooling ends as well, I plan to do a massive free agency overview. We'll talk about the Oilers to start, and I want to go through almost every signing, every trade. I want to talk about everything there is to talk about. It's probably going to be about a 1 hour long video, depending on how crazy free agency is this year. So, expect a lot to be in that video, but I just kind of want to get it all out of the way, because the next day I'm going away. And, yeah, I don't want to have to deal with that while I'm somewhere where I'm not going to have internet. Without further ado, let's get to the actual topic of the video, the Nashville Predators. Now, I'm going to say off the bat, I'm going to preface this. I've tried recording this video several times, and I've tried coming up with almost kind ways to talk about it. I'm about to be ruthless, and I'm about to be a hot take machine here. I'm about to say some stuff that you might not agree with, and you know what? That's completely fine. We're humans. But my prediction, and I'm going to say it off the bat before I get into my reasoning, I don't think that the Nashville Predators will be anywhere near the playoff conversation in the 2020-2021 season, or depending on when it starts, the 2021 season. The Nashville Predators this year were an interesting team. I don't have their exact record, but they finished 6th in the Western Conference when it comes to points percentage, and then were upset by the Arizona Coyotes. Now, upset is the term because of the seeding. What I think about that series, and I didn't really go in depth with it because I hadn't really seen it, I think back now, I look at what happened to Arizona afterwards. Here's my genuine thoughts about that series a little bit more in retrospect. And I think the answer is simple. The question here is, okay, how did Nashville lose this? And I'll tell you two things it wasn't. I don't think it was a fluke. I don't think that any team who lost in the play-in round can use the excuse of, oh, this was just a rarity. This was a really awkward situation. The team wasn't ready, because everybody was in that situation, man. It's not a situation where anybody played any more games than anybody else. Everybody had been off for months. I don't think that there was a fluke. I think, simply put, the better teams were going to win, and that's why I think the best team in the West, Dallas. Best team in the East, Tampa. Because they were the teams that kept winning. I don't think that there should be any debate about, oh, well, this was just an upset. And I also don't think that this was Arizona being a good team, because look at what happened against Colorado. If they put up a fight against Colorado, even if they lose in a sweep, right? Even if they lost in a sweep, but they kept every game 1 or 2 goals apart, okay, fair. They fought. They weren't supposed to be there. They lost 2 games in a row, 7-1. Darcy Kuemper, arguably the best, one of the better goalies in the league, one of the more underrated goalies in the league, got torched by them because that team was so putrid. Like, there is no excuses for Nashville. The excuse for Nashville is that they just were not good. They didn't do enough. I don't care what the shots were. I don't care what the play on the ice said. At the end of the day, more pucks went in their net than the pucks they put into the other team's net. And at the end of the day, you need to put the puck in your opponent's net more than they put it in yours. Nothing else matters in the playoffs. In the regular season, I harped on the Oilers for winning but getting outplayed. I did. But that's in the regular season. That's where I need to see they're playing good, because that could fall through. In the playoffs, while you would love to see your team playing well, at the end of the day, the only stat that's going to matter at the end of the day is the scoreboard. Who scored more goals? Nashville didn't outscore Arizona. And that's it. That's really it. You know, like, they outplayed Arizona. Don't get me wrong. They outplayed them. Didn't outscore them. Now, they're left with an interesting situation. Let's start in net with Pekka Rinne and Juuse Saros. Both of them have this one last season left on their deal. And you know what? That's not the worst tandem to have. You can have a lot worse tandems in the league. That being said, here's the predicament you're going to be left with next year. Next year, Pekka Rinne will be 38 years old. And I don't know what it is. I do not think that we're going to... I don't think we're going to see Pekka Rinne remain. I think he may retire after that contract. Okay, so Pekka Rinne retires. The new starting goalie for the Predators is Juuse Saros. Who's good? He's good. Don't get me wrong about that. Juuse Saros is great. He was interesting this year. He could have been better. We'll have to see how that plays out. I like Juuse Saros, but we'll have to see how that plays out. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that, man. Like, maybe they bring in more insurance, but this year they know they have those two, even if Rinne is in regression. Defensively, they have the big three in Josi, Ellis, and Ekholm. And then from there, you've got a guy like Steve Santini, who's being paid $1.4 million. You've got Dante Fabro, who I'm still high on as a prospect. I think a lot of people have soured on him. He was very solid in that series he played, taking on the Dallas Stars back in round 1 in 2019, considering the fact that that was his rookie game. If Cale Makar didn't exist, I think more people would have talked about that, but Cale Makar did indeed exist. And when it came to rookie right-shot defenders on Central Division teams, Makar stole the show. The Preds, though, are relying on him to be a top 4 defender next year, in my opinion, and I don't know if he is a top 4 defender. I think he's good, but I don't know if right now he's a top 4 defender yet, which is going to be scary to see if they play him in top 4 minutes. I don't know exactly what his time on ice was. Let me see if I can find it fairly easily, which I can find it on Cap Friendly. But I want to make sure I'm thorough with this. I want to make sure that when all is said and done, I have covered everything and made every point. As I'm searching this up, my point kind of is simple. I am not the most impressed by their defense anymore. Yes, I do believe that the Subban deal was kind of needed. At the same time, I don't know how well it did. So, Dante Fabro was technically a top 4 defender this year. And then you had Jared Tenorti as the 5th highest minute defenseman on the team. Dan Hamhuis here, Yannick Weber here. I think they also had Matt Irwin, but they traded him away. Point is, right, it's the top 3, and then it's by committee. But the thing that made Nashville good before was that they had that big four defensively. And even though Subban is not good defensively, what he was a power play quarterback. And I don't know exactly what the power play numbers read, which is, again, something I'm going to search up here. I want to be thorough with this. But when you look at that power play, I imagine that even if numerically, I love how the NHL, I can't readily find power play. Maybe it's in teams. This will be a bit of a longer video, just a bit of a warning. But yes, like, that power play took a hit, and we haven't even gotten to really the forward core. So this year, when it comes to power play, fair. They finished fourth. They had a 28.6%. That was because of Roman Josi. Do not get it that was in the playoffs, sorry. Regular season, because anybody can have a good power play in those playoffs. Nashville's power play. Very predictably, Nashville's power play, 17.3%. It struggled. Goals for, they had more goals scored on them than not having scored on them. And what I would like to do is compare this, right? Let's go back to 18-19 when they did, in a matter of fact, have Subban. Oh, their power play was even worse. Well, okay, maybe that point's a little defeated. I'll have credit there. Maybe Subban wasn't helping that power play, but, at least, they had the defender. I guess it makes sense moving him. I understand the contract, but you look at what they ended up turning that into. I don't know, man. There's just something. I just don't know if that was the right move fully. Forward core for this team is not looking pretty. It's not looking pretty. Matt Duchene, Philip Forsberg, I like. I do not like Matt Duchene at 6 more years at $8 million. Ryan Johansson, 5 more years, $8 million. Not the prettiest. Kyle Turris, 4 more years at 6. Colton Sissons, nearly $3 million for 6 more years. Why? I think the main point of this forward core is A, it's a meh forward core, and B, it's locked up for long term. So at the end of the day, we've talked about all that. I got proven wrong about the power play. The power play got better. I mean, you can say, I guess my excuse is that, it's not full 82 games, but I don't imagine it would have dropped 5% over the whatever more games, 12 more games, 11 more games that they would have played. Here is what I think about the Nashville Predators going into next season. I see a team that, for me, is very similar to the San Jose Sharks going in to this year. Okay? San Jose Sharks going in to this year, right, had a core that looked solid. They had, you look at that core, on the roster, their defensemen, you had Erik Karlsson, Brett Burns, and Marc-Edouard Vlasic. Those guys right there, that's your big three. Does that remind you of anything? Josi, Ellis, Ekholm. They have those big three defensemen who are starting to get up there a little bit in age and are starting to lose their ability. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not, because I believe that San Jose's defensemen are older and they're probably just not as good. And I also think that Karlsson being injury prone doesn't help. Point is that I just see the formings, and they're all locked up long term as well, other than Ekholm, who was on a good contract. Then when you get to the forward core, eerily similar in my opinion. You got guys locked up at contracts that are very interesting, but because playoff success one year, lock them up. I am going to make the bold prediction, because every year we see it. We see a team that we didn't expect to fall off as hard as they did, fall off. Nobody expected San Jose to fall off as hard as they did. Nobody expected LA to. If you did, congrats. But the majority of people thought... I didn't think LA would make the playoffs that year, especially. I thought they might have, but I didn't think it would be the strongest run. But I thought they would finish mid-division. They crashed. And I think that's going to happen in Nashville this year. I think that at this point, you have a situation, everyone's being paid. Everyone's got those big contracts they wanted. And I think that this team is just not going to have that punch next year. They're not going to. I think that the veterans are going to hold the team down. Some of the guys who are starting to really get up there in age. And I think that they're also not going to be able to make moves because of the term. That's one thing I think could happen. Now, on the flip side, they could obviously go on a run. But the worst thing that could happen to them is hockey purgatory, which I would not be surprised if they get stuck here. This is the Minnesota effect, where you're never too bad to tank and get good prospects, the top picks, but you're never good enough to be able to do anything in the playoffs. I would not be shocked if that's where they end up being. You know, I look at the Western Conference, I look at the playoff picture. Let's look at both divisions. Right, in the Central Division, who do you expect to be in the playoff picture? I think about Colorado, St. Louis, and Dallas. I think they're going to be in the picture next year. And I think that the guys on the outside are going to be Winnipeg and Nashville. Looking at the other conference, I think that you're going to have the top 3 teams be, we're just going to say Vegas, Edmonton, and Vancouver. And then I think that team on the outside is going to be Calgary. And then who knows if maybe one of the California teams is able to get their act together and maybe push for a wild card spot. That makes Nashville, in this opinion, I don't think Nashville is as good as Calgary or Winnipeg, personally. So this puts Nashville in this weird spot where they're literally the 9th team in their conference. They're just so close, but they are not in the right position. Do I think that that's going to happen? Possibly. I think that it's going to be a harder fall off, however, for the Nashville Predators. I think that you could see them going as far as worst in the Central. Does worst in the Central actually mean anything, considering that the Pacific Division exists? Absolutely not. They could probably have more points than the bottom 4 teams in the Pacific Division if they tried hard enough, but I don't think that they are going to make the playoffs. I really don't. I don't think that this is a playoff team at this point. I think the defense might be able to get you there, but there's not going to be enough scoring, I don't think. And I don't think that the goaltending is going to hold up as well as it did last year. I see this team falling off. That being said, though, it's 10:46. I gotta go to bed in a little bit, and I want to get this video done. I thank you all for watching. This was not the video I thought I'd be doing first, but the next video I'm going to be doing in this off-season series, which I would assume I'm going to be making that and recording that and uploading that next week. I'm going to be talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm going to be talking about 3 crucial mistakes they made and why this team, this iteration, will not win a Stanley Cup. Thank you all for watching. I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.